Welcome to this webinar. This is Cambridge Marketing College's fortnightly webinar series. My name is Neil Wilkins, and we're here today to talk about finding your business Ikigai. That's a fancy title for something which actually intrinsically is very, very simple and very, very straightforward. But within the simplicity and within the level of straightforward is a huge amount of complexity. Now that sounds like a little bit of a dichotomy, and actually it is. And this is why this stuff is not necessarily the easiest type of strategy creation that you're going to find when you look at your own business or organization. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through some of the building blocks that you can consider if you are looking to create the essence of a business Ikigai, which is the higher level of purpose, so that as a group of people, as a team, as an organization, you can be living literally every moment when you're actually within work, within what we might term your Ikigai. And I'll explain what that is as we go forward into this session. Now, this for me is a very, very interesting one, because on the vast majority of times that we talk about Ikigai, it is very much from a personal perspective. So what is Ikigai? Well, it's an ancient Japanese awareness concept designed to help you to identify a reason for being. Okay, so this is your fundamental reason for being on this planet. And once you can kind of establish what that may be, and it is often a maybe because this can evolve throughout your lifetime, it kind of gives you a true purpose, something that you can live in every moment if you choose to. So something that gives you this kind of higher meaning, if you like, and this higher kind of value that you can bring to the world. Now, this is Ikigai from the pure Japanese perspective for an individual. Okay, and this is kind of where it began. But what I've been exploring and playing with over recent years is the idea of considering your business or your organization as an entity. So actually thinking of that as, and for lots of organizations, they are a legal entity. They're a limited or public company. And then actually trying to translate the concept of Ikigai, this kind of higher awareness, this higher reason for being, this higher purpose, into a business sense. In other words, not thinking necessarily of a business as something that is there purely to make money, so it's there for purely commercial purposes, but actually thinking about it in what might become a little bit more of a profound sense, its reason for being, its true purpose. And the reason I really like this is because it allows us to think about our organization as a collective of people who hopefully are working towards a common cause or a common goal or a higher level of strategy. Now, a lot of the time, most businesses in most markets and most sectors will hear that and they'll say, well, yeah, of course we are. We're looking to create sales. We're looking to become better than the competition. We're looking to be, more profitable. We're looking to strip, cost out of the business. We're looking to become sustainable, eco-friendly. We're just looking to become a good company. And I would say, great. All of those things are required to be a successful business or a successful organization. But to me, there's something a little bit more. And this little bit more is what we're going to be exploring as we go through this session, because I think businesses of the future are going to need something that sits above all of these kind of high-level strategic statements, the mission of the organization, the vision even of the organization. To me, there's something now that sits above that, that is the purpose, is the reason that the business or the organization exists. And it is higher than all of those things that we've become quite used to. So let's kind of try and get our heads around actually what we mean by Ikigai from a personal perspective first, because then what we can do is start to maybe translate that into a business context. Okay, so from a personal perspective, Ikigai can be there if you kind of have found that you sort of struggle to kind of live every day doing what you love. Okay, a lot of us, have careers or spend time doing things that we feel we're drawn to or we feel we should be doing, rather than actually doing things that we really love. Okay, and wouldn't it be great if we can be doing those things to bring some kind of sort of financial security into our world as well? So kind of balancing what we love with actually, something that rewards us. So this is kind of part of Ikigai. It's actually getting great value on both sides. And maybe, people who look at Ikigai from a personal perspective have kind of reached some kind of crossroads, or they're not quite sure what job or what course might suit them best. And again, you can start to think, well, okay, so maybe there's a business issue here. A lot of organizations right now, as we come out of the recent global crisis, are looking to pivot. They're looking to reinvent, or maybe find themselves in a different scenario or different situation with new challenges, maybe chaos in their marketplace, certainly some new opportunities. So they might have themselves reached some kind of crossroads. So there is a similarity there with people looking to use Ikigai from a personal perspective, because Ikigai, this kind of trying to find a sense of being for yourself personally, can also there be in a business sense. And particularly when businesses reach this tipping point of, things aren't really going so well right now, so we need to kind of reinvent ourselves. So there's a reason for being interested in Ikigai from a business sense. If your business has reached some kind of crossroads, or is it that kind of tipping point, or maybe it's just become quite stagnant in a particularly stagnant marketplace, or maybe it's found that new competition since the global crisis have come into your market sector, and things have just become too tough. Now is an opportunity to use the concept of Ikigai to maybe start to consider, your reason for being as an organization. And we'll come on to some of the things you can do practically along these lines in just a moment. There's also, from a personal perspective, potentially a feeling of not feeling totally fulfilled. And also from a personal perspective, people who dip into Ikigai, this kind of sense of trying to find your higher purpose, is because of that feeling of being unsettled. So there's some kind of level of unfulfillment. There's a level of kind of almost drifting. There's a level of just kind of being on a treadmill. And often businesses find that too. So again, there's another good reason that, if you're just finding it's business as usual, then maybe you're not necessarily optimizing new opportunities that have presented themselves. Now, it could be because you're not looking, or it could be just because you haven't made the time to free up the resources and the energy to actually have a look outside the organization's four walls and see, maybe there is stuff going on out there that I could actually be, sort of hooking into, or that I could be optimizing. So Ikigai, from a business sense, could help us to do that. And sometimes, from a personal perspective, we just lose the point. Ikigai can help you from a personal perspective to kind of bring ourselves back to the fundamental point of our existence. And if we've always wondered kind of, what is the meaning of life? And, you hear this phrase, but also you can also challenge from a business perspective, well, what's the meaning of our business? Well, why are we here? Why are we doing this? We just seem to be struggling on. We just seem to be forging on, doing the same things and getting the same outcomes. And we know kind of what that's the definition of. So from a business perspective, there are a lot of analogies here. There's a lot of kind of similarities from a personal Ikigai. And so people will use Ikigai from a personal perspective to try and get clarity in their world, to try and get a fundamental sense of being and a fundamental sense of purpose. So that is exactly what we're here to talk about from a business perspective. It is clarity, it's very high level, it's very strategic, but you can use this if you're not responsible for the strategy of your organization. And of course, a lot of people listening to this may well be employed in larger organizations where you don't even have any kind of influence over that. But locally within your team, what is it that you need to kind of feel that sense of purpose, that sense of being, that sense of value within your team? Well, you can control and influence that. So that's what we'll focus on here. So what I'd encourage you to do is kind of translate what we're talking about into what is meaningful for you in your circle of influence. Okay, so if you're the business owner, you're the chief exec listening to this, then yes, you can control the whole thing. But if not, take it at a level that you can influence and control. Okay, because everything starts with you. Okay, this is not something you can just give away to somebody else. If you're listening to this and you buy into this concept and this idea and you're fascinated or curious, it begins with you. So start locally. So let's begin to think then about Ikigai for business. Okay, so why would you do this? Now, we're going to see things in multiples of 4, okay, and I'll explain in a moment just why the 4 is a magic number within Ikigai. But the first of the 4 things is Ikigai in your business will help you to identify what's going to bring most satisfaction and enjoyment. Okay, business should not be a grind. There, I said it. Business should be enjoyable. Okay, if you're not enjoying business, if you're not enjoying the process of adding value to your customers' world and to all the stakeholders involved in your organization each and every day, you're missing the point. Okay, so this is something you should be enjoying. We're here to enjoy life. And that also isn't just in, a personal sense, it's in a business sense too. So Ikigai within a business will help you to identify what brings most satisfaction and enjoyment as a collective group of individuals and people. Number 2 is it will help you to establish what your business offers better than the competition. Now, for me, this is an important one, particularly if you're in a very competitive marketplace or you're in a sector where, it really is dog eat dog. It's a tough world out there. And it's, never any less tough now on this other side of this global crisis. So establishing what your business offers better than the competition is another surefire way of starting to identify the real true value add that your organization brings to the world. Okay, so this is something we're going to explore. Third thing we're going to talk about is helping you to understand what the world needs from your business. Okay, now this is an interesting one. A lot of organizations are very product centric. So they develop a product or a service and then they look around for customers, or they're very process driven. They've got super efficient processes, but we're not sure how we can add value. Some organizations are very customer and externally focused. So they're kind of driven by the value that they add to the world around them. But a lot of us aren't. Okay, a lot of us kind of are self-fulfilling. We're kind of looking inwards to see and kind of live every day within our organization. So Ikigai for a business helps you to understand what the world needs from your business, and that will give you clarity, and that will help you to start to prioritize. And Ikigai is all about prioritization. Prioritize where the real true value add comes from. And point number 4 that we're going to discuss is identifying what your business can be rewarded for. The clue is in the word business. Okay, what I'm not doing here is advocating that we just all start to hug trees and become wonderfully spiritual and lose sight of the fact that for a lot of us, the commercial realities, the tough commercial realities of everyday business need to be sustained and retained. Super important. Okay, so Ikigai for business is about profitability, but it's also about thinking about what other things around the sense of kind of making sales, creating profit, adding value. What are the other ways that our business can be rewarded? And what does reward and success look like? Because it is about the bottom line. There's no doubt about that. If you're in a commercial business, you cannot lose sight of that because you will not be around tomorrow to have this lovely experience. So we need to balance that with what your business can truly be rewarded for in a very broad, holistic sense. So those are the 4 things. What brings most satisfaction and enjoyment? What can you do better than the competition? What do you need to be providing because the world needs it from you? And this is a very broad question. And also then, what can your business be rewarded for in the broadest definition of the word reward? So these are the 4 elements that we're going to explore as we go through this. And around all of this, what we're going to see is there's going to be a consistent word that's going to pop up. Once we start to think about answering those 4 questions, there is a word which is at the core of everything that is about business Ikigai. Okay, and this word is the word purpose. Okay, so I want you to just kind of, if you're making any notes about the things that we're talking about here, I'd like you to just note down the word purpose. Okay, so purpose is that kind of sweet spot, if you like, in the middle of all of those 4 things. Those 4, if we kind of put them into spheres, say, let's just imagine those 4 things in 4 circles. in the middle of those four spheres, those four circles, to define our business would be that sweet spot right at the heart. And that is our organization or our business's true purpose. Okay. And so the true purpose is the real calling that our business has. It's the real kind of essence of who and what we are. And should be really the prioritization of every working moment, so that everything we do plays back to our core central purpose. So we don't go flying off trying to do this and to do that and talking to them and doing this and developing this product, which is kind of outside of our core purpose. Everything really should have either a nod to or be totally focused towards delivering to our core purpose. Because this is the real calling of why we get together every day as a group of people. That's our business, our group of people, to try to add value in whatever way and way that we define it. And so that should be our clear prioritization of every working moment. And this is across all stakeholders. Okay, so everybody who has a vested interest in how our organization performs should really understand, because we've clarified it and we've communicated it clearly, should understand what our purpose is. Because then we stand a chance of providing what I might term optimal value to the world and the people around us. Okay. If we are just perceived as, oh yeah, that's a business and they sell me product X, we've missed a huge and beautiful opportunity to add true value. That's not how you build relationships in a business. Selling, okay, selling in the old sense of the word, the old school form of selling and marketing is now done, it's gone, it's history. Organizations who have deep, meaningful relationships with all of their stakeholders, their customers, their resellers, their wholesalers, their buyers, whoever it happens to be, their stakeholders, they have intimate, deep relationships for the long term. They are the organizations who know what their true purpose and value is. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about business Ikigai. It's a deep understanding of the true value that we bring, almost the optimal value that we bring to the people and the world around us. Okay, so now can you start to see why this is so much higher than the mission and the vision? I mean, I think, back in the day when we talked about marketing strategy, we'd always think of, a business vision, as being the leading light. But now actually it's been superseded by this kind of purpose, which exists at an even higher level. And it's super, super important, because going forward, there's a lot of evidence that says that organizations who actually live and breathe this stuff, okay, that actually are purpose-driven companies, already outperform ordinary companies. There's a lot of research. You can go sort of look on your favorite search engine and do a deep dive into this one, because organizations who are doing this now, companies that are purpose-driven, are already outperforming what we might term as ordinary companies. Deloitte did a lot of research over the last couple of years on this, and I've got a couple of quotes for you here. Purpose-driven companies witness higher market share gains and grow 3 times faster on average than their competitors, all the while achieving higher workforce and customer satisfaction. What is not to like about that? You can get higher market share gains, you can grow 3 times faster than average, and you get a workforce and customer satisfaction that also increases at the same time. Organizations that are purpose-driven. This is powerful stuff. You can just stay one of those average competitors, or you can start to take this stuff seriously. This is living and breathing a business Ikigai. Really exciting when you just stop and pause and think about it. The fact you're still here listening and absorbing this stuff gives you an opportunity to take your foot off the gas for a moment and think, hold on a minute. If we just carry on doing the same old thing and following all the competitors down this little dark road, we're going to end up down there with them. Or we could just take a moment out. We could start to kind of figure out how we're going to do this. And maybe we can take our organization to somewhere really, really special. Second quote from Deloitte, and I love this one because, being very customer-focused marketer, I try to identify where the value is going to come. And I love this one. Today's consumers often identify with a brand's purpose seeking to connect at a deeper level, even as the brand reciprocally aligns who they are and who they want to be. So this is really an interesting one. If you stop and really listen to that, consumers today are seeking to connect at a deeper level and will identify with the brand's purpose, even as they go through the process of actually identifying what that is themselves. And we've seen this, haven't we? We've seen a lot of examples as we've gone through this recent global crisis. We've seen a lot of examples of organizations who have kind of reinvented themselves, particularly in an online space. They've taken the time and the energy to kind of figure out how can we actually add value despite all this adversity. How can we actually start to get deeper relationships and actually share our kind of eco credentials and kind of, we're not perfect as an organization. We're not in a sort of a perfect sense, doing everything that we could possibly be doing yet, but we're on a journey. We're doing our best. We're being open and honest about how we're doing, how things are going, the improvements that we're making. We're trying to do good stuff. We're trying to become purpose-driven. We're not actually there, but what we're doing is we're actually on a journey and we're sharing that journey. So this is what Deloitte have uncovered, is that today's consumers will identify with the purpose and seek to connect at a deeper level, even when it's part of a journey. So you don't have to say, I'm not actually there doing this yet. I'm not actually there sort of unable to, achieve the end result right now. That almost doesn't matter. That is just part of the process. So sharing the process of developing your business Ikigai, this journey that you're on to become purpose-driven, is part of the process itself. So it doesn't mean you have to wait until you're 100% perfect before you can do this stuff. You could, if you chose to, begin today. So where would you begin? Okay, let's start to get practical. I've spent 20 odd minutes here talking about some of the reasons why you might want to be interested in this, and then using the Deloitte couple of quotes there to say, look, this isn't just Neil saying it. This is actually real stuff. This is stuff that you can actually benefit from if you choose to take this into your strategic planning, or even just begin to think about it. But where do you begin? Okay, so I would say you begin with the new marketing mix, and I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown as to what those building blocks are. But we've seen a new breed of business emerge. Okay, so here we are in 2022, and a business that's emerging will balance the need to create profit with delivering sustainable well-being outcomes for all of its stakeholders. Well-being, there's the first thing that we need to be focusing on. Okay, so we're looking at well-being within the organization, so staff, employees, management, making sure the culture and the leadership is right. All of those great things. But this is about actually looking outside of the organization and actually really genuinely caring about stakeholders, customers. How are our customers actually feeling? Let's take them seriously. Let's try and get, and if you've listened to any of my previous sessions, you'll know I use this phrase quite a lot, professional intimacy. So to me, that's a really important one, professionally intimate relationships. So we know them, they know us, and we have a deep, meaningful relationship. This is what we're talking about in terms of developing well-being with stakeholders. Okay, this is at the core, developing this higher purpose, this new kind of business Ikigai. And businesses also that balance non-financial, intangible assets and factors like that with tangible financial results. In other words, we're balancing this kind of meaningful, deeper, subjective stuff with the hard-nosed numbers that we know we need to deliver in our business. But it isn't business for business sake. We will be sourcing the right products from the right places and sharing that story. We will be getting widgets from certain other businesses who are on a similar journey so we can build the right kinds of products. We will be using a distribution supply chain so that we can actually get products out to the customers in an effective, efficient, and green, eco-friendly way. We won't just do it because it's the cheapest way. We'll do it even if it costs us a little bit more money. We'll do it in the right way because it's the right way to do it. And as soon as you start kind of investing that kind of energy into your thinking, into your plans, magic happens. Things start to change. People feel a lot more, correct in the way that they make judgments and business decisions. All of this will start to support a higher purpose. So this whole idea of doing and having a new marketing mix is a really important way of beginning to subdivide down the things that you can do to allow you to understand and maybe to start to build this kind of idea of having this higher purpose and kind of actually what it is. So the new marketing mix, and we're going to go through each of these 4 elements, and I've said everything is in 4 today, is people, product, process, and profit. All of those 4 driven by purpose. Okay, so it's people. We need to focus on people. And I will share with you some of the questions you can start to ask to identify this business Ikigai, this higher purpose for people. We'll do the same with product. We'll begin to look at process, and we'll also make sure that we don't forget profit, because again, we've got to be here tomorrow to be able to do this stuff. And driven by purpose means that we're focusing on the organization's meaningful and enduring reason to exist. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to provide value to the people in the world around us. And it has to be enduring. Okay, this isn't just something that we're going to do as a quick little campaign, make us look great, and then we're back to normal, back to the old style and the old way that we did business. This is something that's going to fundamentally change how we are and who we are in business. And ideally, this is also going to align with our long-term financial performance. And as we've seen from those Deloitte quotes, this can actually give us long-term financial growth, not just treading water. So this will help us then to provide a clear context for our daily decision making. So everything we then decide to do can be put through this as a filter. Because if it's not serving this higher purpose, this new marketing mix, this new way that we're going to operate as a business, delivering every moment in this pure and amazing Ikigai, this kind of higher reason for being, then we probably say no to it, because that's probably a decision style that we would have taken a few years ago, and that's not going to serve us going forward. So this is going to change everything. Once you begin to kind of open this opportunity, you can't shut the door on it, because once it's open, it's going to be eating away at you. It's going to be pecking away at you, because you know this is the right way of doing it. And the reason it's the right way of doing it is because it's going to unify and motivate everybody involved in your organization. Because as I said earlier, what is not to like about doing the right things for the right reasons, making the right profit, and adding value to the world around you? Who would not want to be part of that? You'd have to be quite a strange person to not feel the value of that. So to me, there's no fundamental reason why you would not look to search out for the right ways and the right reasons of finding and locating your business Ikigai. So let's just have a little look at kind of how we can structure this. So I've talked about these 4 spheres, these 4 kinds of questions to be kind of posing to yourself as to kind of sort of how you do this stuff. So the first one I'd like you to talk about, and we'll drill down into these in more detail, but the first question I'd like to ask is, what things excite us in our business? Question number 1. Question number 2 is, what are we better at than our competition? Question 3 is, what do our stakeholders need? And for a lot of them, they're going to be thinking about becoming environmentally, socially, and economically sustainable. So they're going through this process themselves. And if they're the right kind of stakeholders that we'd want to identify with, they're probably feeling these same questions as well. So what do our stakeholders need? And the 4th question is, in what ways could our business be rewarded? Not just profit, not just revenue. What other ways could our business be rewarded? And if we were to look at putting information and detail into each of those spheres, what would we see? If we were to answer those questions and maybe just do a mind dump of ideas into all of those things, some of those questions would actually tick more than one box. So there may be things in our business that excite us that we're actually better at doing than the competition, and actually we can be rewarded for. And that answer migrates towards the middle of these four joined up circles. And maybe there's something that excites us, that our stakeholders need, that our business could be rewarded for, that we're actually better than our competition at. And of course, then that would migrate right to the center. This sweet spot that I've been talking about, this kind of this ultimate Ikigai point at the center, which becomes our business purpose. So I'm going to go into each of these four questions in a little bit more detail, but these are the things that we need to be challenging and asking of our business. It's really important to kind of see where that's going to go. So let's focus then on these questions. Let's focus on this new marketing mix and begin with the first one, which is the one that I said was about people. And this is really this question about what excites us in our business. So if you're making notes here, I would say that this would be the first challenge. If you were to do, for example, this in a team meeting, or if you were to have an away day and sort of think, you know, we really got to get to the heart of this purpose question. We need to know our business Ikigai because we're just not making the most of the current opportunities that we have. So let's kind of ask ourselves some of these questions that we talked about in this conversation. So this would be the first set of questions. Let's focus first on people. So question one is, what excites us in our business as people, as individuals, as groups getting together, as pairs, as couples, as partners? What excites us in our business? Where's the spark? There's another question around people. Where is the spark? Where do you see the most energy flow? Where do you see, you know, the fewest barriers? Where do you see the most smiles? Yeah, we're going to get down to this level of detail. I mean, you might be thinking, well, I'm in a very serious type of business and it's not all about that. It's all about production. But just bear with me for a minute. Just kind of go with this. Where do you see the most motivation coming from? This is how we get to the heart of our business Ikigai. You know, where is the spark? Where do you see people kind of just become alive? Where do you see the most engaged and, animated conversations happen? Where's our collective passion? There's another great question to ask if you're focusing on the people element of your business Ikigai to try and find this kind of true purpose. What excites us? Where's the spark? What's our collective passion? You know, where is the energy flowing the best? Where is this kind of excitement within our organization? Key questions really to be asking, because we want to be enjoying this stuff. This is what's super important about this is meant to be enjoyable. Life is meant to be enjoyable. And if we're not feeling it, it's probably because we've got distracted away from what excites us as a group of people or as a team. Where is the spark? Where's our collective passion? So do a mind dump of all of the ideas that you have and see if any of those start to tick some of the other boxes as well, things that you're actually good at. So if it excites you and it's sparking you and you've got energy, but you're also really good at it, then maybe it migrates a little towards the center. If it doesn't, you're just really excited about it, but it doesn't really add value, then it stays on the periphery. Don't delete it, don't remove it, it's got to be there, but just maybe kind of think it through as to which ones kind of are more important than others. And we'll explore how we do that in a little while. Second set of questions is around product, okay, in this new marketing mix. So let's talk about what we're better at than our competition. And I do mean truly better at. You can't just say, oh, we provide excellent service. That's weak. Everybody says that. You know, that's not a USP, a unique selling point. You know, what is your USP? What is the unique set of things or the unique thing that you have to offer as an organization, as a business, as a team? You know, what is it that's unique? And if you know that somebody else does something very, very similar, that's not unique. Okay. Really challenge yourself when you answer these questions. You know, this is super important stuff. And how do you describe your core competencies? And the definition of core competency is something that you do better than the competition. Might not be unique, but you're just better at the competition. And it's not a capability. A capability is what everybody's capable of. You might have a series of capabilities, and that is your product. It is your offer. But if they're just capabilities, they're not a core competency. Try and select the ones that you're best at, because those are your core competencies. And also, think really broadly here. What are you better at than the competition? What is it you genuinely are better at than the competition? And be open, transparent, authentic, and true. Be really self-critical. Look at yourselves in the mirror from the customer's perspective. Is that really an honest answer that you're giving? Really challenge. Don't just write it off and say, well, we're not that, we're not this, we're not that, and then beat yourself up. But just be really open and honest with the way that you answer it. That is crucial here. And if you do have a USP, a unique selling proposition, maybe that's one of the answers that migrates a little towards the center of these 4 concentric circles. That's really what we're trying to see, if any of these kind of migrate slowly and gradually into the middle, and that these become then part of our higher purpose. Because is your USP your purpose? It may or may not be. But having these discussions and these open dialogues are going to help you to basically understand if this is true and working. Next one, third one out of our 4 is process in the new marketing mix. What do our stakeholders need? What do they really need? Have you asked them? Have you had these conversations with the broad range of stakeholders, customers, resellers, suppliers, distributors? Who are your stakeholders? Is it the media? Is it the local community? Who are the people or the organizations who have a vested interest in your business Ikigai, your higher purpose? What do they need? What are they telling you? If you don't know the answers, well, there's a learning in itself. Go out and ask, get the insights, get the understanding, and then weight it according to your most important stakeholders. Don't just listen to the people who shout the loudest. Figure out who are the most important, who are the ones that we need this deep, meaningful relationship with on an ongoing basis. Who are our most important stakeholders and what do they need? Importantly, the big question, what do our stakeholders value the most? And how do you find that question? You look at the outcomes that you facilitate, the outcomes that you help enable in terms of the way that their world is different and better as a result of having a relationship with you. Okay, I'm going to pause on that one just for a moment, because that takes a bit of getting your head around if you haven't done this bit before. What does your stakeholder value the most? They value the change in the world around them as a result of having a relationship with you. In other words, if you're doing things that give great outcomes to them, and it isn't just about, you provide a great value product, it's about how their world is different from using the great value product that you provide. How do you make their world a better place? So figure out from those things that you provide, what do they value the most? And if any of those things, as part of the process of adding value, really rise to the surface and migrate towards the middle of these 4 circles, you can then start to think, maybe there is something really in there that actually is our purpose. Because if we're providing the most value to the most prioritized stakeholders, because we're delivering against their needs, well, maybe these are things that actually are aligned with our higher purpose. So can you see kind of what's happening here? By answering these questions really authentically and honestly, you start to get to the hub of the answer that you need, which is, what is our reason for being? Where do we add the most value? And often it is in process. It is in the way that you deliver what it is that you deliver. And the 4th element of the new marketing mix is profit. We've talked about this one. We've said that as an organization, we probably have to be sustainable profit-wise. And if we're a commercial organization, we definitely do. So think about, beyond sales and revenue, what else would we value? Because if we're working now to this higher purpose, this higher reason for coming together on a Monday morning when we start the week in our business and we come together, some of us are now not working, blended or virtually, we're coming together in an office physically with others. And so if we're doing that, what is it that we're doing this for? How else would we want to be rewarded? How else could we be valued? In what ways could our business, beyond sales and revenue and profit, what other things would be valuable to us? And can we create sustainable value for ourselves? And let's start to get really creative here. If it is that, well, wow, one of the ways that we really could be valued would be that actually we become thought leaders on a particular topic that is just super useful to the world around us. that would be a huge value to us, because we'd feel, and there's a key word here, we'd feel as though we're giving some real true value as part of our higher purpose. A lot of the time when we're doing strategy and planning and thinking marketing and marketing mix and selling and marketing and business developing and stuff, we are in the thinking mode. Okay, so we're in a mindset. A lot of this, when it comes to creating sustainable value, creating the higher purpose, is actually about feeling this stuff as much as it is about thinking. So just for once here, and this is a really interesting time to do it, because most of us, when we think about profit and sales and revenue, it's all about mindset and thinking stuff through, because it's about numbers and hard facts. But we can balance that value with the feeling bit. So for once, move away from your head and go to your heart. Actually, how would value and profit feel if we didn't just think of it in numerical terms? If we didn't just think finance, if we thought about a return, a measure of success that came back to us that wasn't based on numbers, how would that feel? So when we come together to start the working week, or when we review the end of the week and we come together at the end of the week to see how we've done, it isn't just about hitting the numbers. It's about something else. It's about something more deep, intimate, meaningful, as a group of people getting together to do stuff. And let's face it, most of us spend more time working than we do at leisure in most weeks. So actually, if we're spending all this time, why don't we invest this time in a way that can actually reward us financially, yes, as a business and as individuals, but also reward us with something that actually feels like we're giving value to? So when you're coming up with ideas and answers to these questions, be really, really creative. Go with your heart as much as with your head, because then you're going to start to uncover stuff that in the old style of business planning, you would never have encountered. So there's a big opportunity here to have some real fun with this stuff. It is exciting and it really, really is great. So think about those questions. Those are the 4 elements and the 4 areas based around what excites us in our business. What are we better at than the competition? What ways do we add value, or do we need to provide more value to our stakeholders? And what do they need? What do they value in terms of outcomes? And in what ways could our business be rewarded? Not just sales and revenue, but more. What is it? And then if we were to put all of those answers into 4 segments, 4 sectors, 4 spheres, 4 circles, and then join those circles with answers that actually are right at the core, things that actually tick all the boxes. So if we come up with an answer that says, okay, this provides value to our stakeholder, this excites us, we're actually darn good at it, and actually we can be rewarded for it, then that is one element of your business purpose. That sweet spot right at the center, where you've got this little thing in your hand and you're holding it up in front of the rest of the team and you're saying, this is it, guys. We found it. This is the one. And it might not just be one, it might be a multiple of things. But if there are more than one, can you combine those together? And does that paint a picture of your business purpose or your business Ikigai? Does it excite you, or do you feel energized by it? Are you good at it? Or are you better at the competition than it? Do your stakeholders need it for whatever they're looking to achieve? And can you be rewarded for it? Because if that is your business purpose, that becomes the thing that's above your vision, above your mission, above the everyday, day-to-day processes and operations of the things that you do and market. This becomes your leading light, your true North Star that is even higher and further out there than your vision. How powerful would that be to identify that? To me, this just excites me so much, because I just think that is the reason that we actually are in business. That is the reason why we come together all the time to do what we do. And what it allows us to do is to turn our capabilities, the things that we do day in, day out, into a prioritized set of core competencies, the things that we just do better than everybody else, and then we can consistently obsess about providing value to everyone and everything. This business Ikigai, this reason for being, this higher level of interaction with the world around us is going to be so much more potent, so much more powerful, and so much more driven by the true kind of nature of what we could and should be as individuals and as groups of people than anything we've ever had before. This kind of stuff has never really existed before, but we're in this unique moment in time now. And as Deloitte said, and all of their research and all the examples that they've given going forward, and Mark Carney said this, Governor of the Bank of England, as was 3 years ago, said this, that organizations who embrace this stuff will be the organizations of the future. I'm paraphrasing here, but he also said other organizations who worked the old model will not be here any longer. So this is almost like a carrot and a stick. There's a huge carrot dangling in front of you, tempting you forward along this trail. But there's also a big stick that's coming up behind you saying, if you don't do anything like this, you might not be here to see the future anyway. So I would say that now, if you're here listening to this and watching this, I would say now is the time to strike. Now is the time to take that moment and do what I think probably you're already agreeing with me, I'm sure, is the right thing, which is take the moment now, figure out your business Ikigai. What is it you love? What is it you're great at as a group of people? What do your stakeholders need and you can provide value from and that you can be rewarded by? And figure out the answers that come together to answer all 4 of those questions. And if you can find just the nub of those things at the center, that is your sweet spot. That is your business Ikigai. So what I'd like to do, got to the point in the conversation really now, is to say, have you got any questions? Let's use the chat and Q&A, which you'll see in the menu bar, just to see if there's anybody who's got anything they'd like to kind of type in, observe, ask. I'll see as best I can in obviously what is a huge, great, quite profound conversation and topic here that we're talking about today. I'll see if I can give you a few little guiders or pointers as to kind of, if you want to go away and implement this yourselves in reality, what you can do. So use the chat or Q&A facility and we'll see whether we can answer those questions. What you might want to do if you decide you want to self-serve yourself and go away and sort of find a little bit more about this, you will find support from a website called the Mindful Collective. You go to mindfulcollective.net. That's mindfulcollective.net. You will find lots of little sort of tutorials and details around and examples as well, case studies of organizations who have dipped their toes in the water here and found sort of, a way forward. And also, if you want to go much deeper into this stuff, I'd really encourage you to come along to the, particularly if marketing sustainability is something that is a burning topic within your organization, come along to a half-day short course that we have plan for you at the college on the 16th of March. You can find details at marketingcollege.com/events, and that will be there for hopefully providing you with some guidance. It's a half-day course, and we'll be workshopping through a lot of these questions, not in exactly this format, and we will be focusing on sustainable marketing, so marketing sustainability, but we will be touching on many of the things that we're talking here, and that might give you just a slightly different perspective or a different spin in terms of ways to take this one forward. And also then, just to kind of continue the conversation, we've had a couple of questions come through, which I'll answer in just a second. Thank you for those. We'll come back to those. But just whilst I'm on the topic of marketingcollege.com/events, where you can book in, the next webinar in this series, the fortnightly Friday series, is all about event management. So if you run campaigns or projects or events, both online or virtually, I'm going to be talking about event management skills, and I've got an event that I'm going to tell you quite a detailed story about that I think you will find sort of quite interesting, which was an event that I ran for 10 years and some of the upsides and challenges that I found running an event in all its various guises, and some of the things that I learned going through running an event for 10 years. And I want to share that experience and that story with you. So that'll be a very practical webinar on event management skills on the 11th of March. So go away to marketingcollege.com/events if you're interested in booking onto that one. Hopefully I'll see you there. So on to the questions. So we've had a question that's come through, which is, how would you encourage buy-in to the naysayers? Okay, yeah, there's the big $1 million question about this. Now, this is a really, really interesting one, because I think you will find as soon as you kind of raise this topic, you might buy into it. You might think, yep, I get it. I totally understand why we should be doing this. There will always be, and there always have been, to any kind of change, if you're looking to do change or inspire change within an organization, there will always be the naysayers. So thank you for the question, Jack. This is definitely one that you will find. I think the key to this is if you can find supporters. So I think it's almost like you have to accept there will be naysayers. I would hope that what they will see is that they very quickly become in the minority. There is so much to like about going through this process. There is so much to enjoy about the question, what do we love about our work? What do we love about being in this sector? What do we love about our business? It's very hard to answer that negatively just by the nature of the question. What are we also good at? What are we better at than the competition? Again, very hard to answer negatively. So even if you break down and you have naysayers actually in maybe a team meeting that you're looking to run, and they're in there, they're trying to be negative, the phrasing of the questions drives people into a positive mindset. It's very hard to be a naysayer if you're in the room and that's the question asked, because well, there actually isn't any space to become negative if they're keeping on track with the answering the question. If they go off track and start to be negative, you can maybe challenge back and say, well, look, actually, can we keep on track with this question? Because actually you're not answering the question. So that is if you've got them on board and they're actually in the session itself. If what you're describing is that you haven't actually even got them on board yet, then I think if you can surround yourself with people who you know are quite positive and are already going to get it, and begin to build the momentum. What I've seen from my experience is that it's very, very easy to get kind of bogged down by the naysayers because they are just very, very good often at bringing negativity into play. And you'll find that you'll get distracted and you'll find your energy sapped as a result of trying to pander to them. I'd say just forget them. Basically, if they don't want to jump on board now, they possibly will in the future when they see this great positive momentum building. So I would say surround yourself with people who are either neutral or positive about this and build the momentum that way. The naysayers will join later or not. And if they don't join, well, they're going to be the ones missing out. So I think it's almost do it despite them. And also another good way of doing it as well is see if you can get a positive sponsor. Often this is a really good way of actually getting some momentum, is to get somebody in a senior position to really sponsor this stuff, because as soon as they're on board, people think, oh, okay, right, okay, well, this is now serious. This isn't just Neil asking it, or it's not just Jack asking it. It's kind of, oh, right, this has got some senior support. So see whether you can get some kind of good level of support and sponsorship, and somebody who is willing to sponsor a project, even if you just use their name, then that can often sort of get people sort of inspired to get and be part of it. But just purely using those questions, which are by their nature positive, will hopefully help to build that positive energy and momentum. So great question, Jack. Thank you for asking it. We've had another question here which says, what would you do to persuade others within your business to think about the new marketing mix and finding your business Ikigai? Would you suggest some form of team building day, raising a meeting to discuss it specifically? I'd say, yeah. I mean, certainly if you have regular team meetings, it might be that you want to take something, like this presentation that I've given. You can make it your own. You can kind of shamelessly steal all of the slides. I'm not precious about these things. If you want to have a series of slides, I can directly send them to you if we're not connected. This is from in Q&A. It says anonymous attendee, so I don't know who you are. I can't answer you directly by name, but if you want to connect with me on social at Neil Wilkins X, I'm more than happy to send you the slides that I've used here. Maybe do it initially as a little presentation out to a team meeting, and even if you cover it in 10 minutes and say, look, I've been on this webinar, think it might be something we could have some fun, and keep it at a fun level to start with, and kind of say, look, there's obviously big organizations out there, and Deloitte and organizations like that are clearly seeing that there's evidence of really good value. I think I'd like to explore this. Can I do a 10-minute presentation just to see whether everyone's interested? And then maybe then we use it as a format for a team day, and then dive into each of those 4 questions. Maybe you have an hour on each question, get the flip charts up, get the post-it notes out, and have a little play. It's a very simple model. And as long as you keep focused on those 4 questions and some of those little building blocks within the questions that I suggested, you should get some really interesting outputs and see if anything does migrate to the center. It's not rocket science, and people generally do get it. And particularly if you're asking them questions where there is a really nice, positive kind of feel to the style of answers, people generally enjoy it. And if it just opens up one single little opportunity to do something differently that people all understand collectively, well, that was a good use of time. So yeah, I'd say, maybe do a quick little presentation just to introduce it. Let's connect first so I can give you the slides, or you produce your own, and then introduce it as being a little bit of a team building exercise. Doesn't have to be too onerous, don't have to use a full day. You could do it within an hour, but you probably won't get too much sort of detail behind it, but could also be an interesting way of doing it. So great question. And if anybody else is also interested in a copy of the slides, yes, just DM me on social at Neil Wilkins X, and I will send you the slides. More than happy to do that. And if you have any other sort of questions, and either direct message me on social, or when this gets posted to sort of social, and you can see the recording on Catch Up. If you are watching this on Catch Up, then use the message thread facility as well if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask. And also in Mindful Collective, if you go to mindfulcollective.net and ask any questions in there, anybody at Mindful Collective will be very happy to answer back. And there is broader support there available too. So there are people, including myself, who are very happy to be commissioned to come in and actually help you do this on a bigger scale if your organization really wants to jump in and do this properly. A whole range of different things, but I would say self-serve first. Have a little play with the concepts. You don't need to do this in a complicated manner. Have a play with some of the concepts and ideas here, and keep in touch with how it goes. Often this isn't a one-hit thing. Often it does take a little bit of time to build that momentum. And as you can see from Jack's question about there will be naysayers, and yes, there absolutely are. It's not necessarily going to be a purely simple ride, but I think just begin. You can do no harm with just beginning, and just listen, be actively listening to the responses, identify who in the organization is kind of on side. And if you find a lot of people are on side, well, you've got some momentum there. So, really kind of embrace it. And then where you can and where you're able to, start to talk about it publicly as well, because as we've seen from the Deloitte stuff, is that you can actually go public with some of these things. And as soon as you start to do that, it really can extend the value of your brand. And particularly if you're in a smaller organization who are trying to punch above their weight, this purpose-driven stuff is so powerful. So if you're in a startup, if you're thinking about, turning your side hustle into a real business, being driven by purpose is probably going to allow you to accelerate your business way faster than if you were to do it in a traditional sense. So there are so many different reasons why you'd want to do this, but the trick here with all this stuff is to just get started. So have a little play. If you need any help, you know where we are. And let's just keep building this stuff. And I've no doubt at all we're going to come back to topics that are very, very much around this whole kind of business Ikigai, higher purpose thing later in the series. So thank you so much for the questions, and thank you very much for listening through to the end of this. It's been really fast, and it's amazing actually how fast time has gone sort of in this session. But I really, really thank you for your inputs there, and for being part of this. So good luck. Hopefully you'll enjoy the journey when you come to put this into practice. And I will see you again in a webinar very, very soon. Don't forget to book on to the next one, marketingcollege.com/events. And that one is event management skills. So if you're doing any kind of project, campaign, or event, it'd be great to see you on that one. I've got some really, really fun stuff to share with with you on that particular webinar. So have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and I will see you again very, very soon.